edition. First of all, I'm sorry, last week did not happen. A lot of planning went into last week's episode with Americans, and they all of a sudden had to ditch IRL reasons. I get it. And my own schedule did not allow me to get proper guests for the show. So, yeah, last week did not happen. Americans will come on next week on the 14th of June. And on the 21st of June, we will have the MAT edition. Let's see who's going to make it this month. But for today, for tonight, we have no one else but belzor, formerly known as the midliner of Straight Outta Compton KMD, with us. To give a little bit of context before I get him on the show, for everyone who's not been around for too long, KMD was known to be the best team to play balanced, if not at all, to be the best European guild somewhere around mid 2008 to, don't let me lie, I think it was roughly the second quarter of 2009. So for roughly a year, they were known to be one of, if not the best European guilds, which is something we're gonna talk about today with belzor. We're gonna talk about the state of the game currently, comparing it to the past. We're gonna talk about the European scene because even though Europeans used to outnumber Americans quite a bit in MAT participation, back in the day after the Asians, Americans used to win a bit more, even though there were less to participate, or at least less American guilds participated in the MAT. This is something we're gonna look into, and as I said, we're comparing the old state of game to the current state of the game, and we're gonna talk about skill balance. Not because I want to, but because it makes sense. Simply because belzor used to be in the old task crew. So what I'm trying to get is a lot of information out of him. I mean, I personally spoke about it with him quite a bit, but never on stream. So gonna try to get as much information out of him regarding the old test crew. Then we're gonna look into how the game used to be played, which updates probably affected the game in a negative way, how the game could shift back to a better state. And I know some people love the current state of the game, while others don't. And if we just look at the numbers, who's still playing and how many people left the game, it's quite obvious that the majority did not enjoy the patches that we got. But nevertheless, we're going to do that slight comparison, sort of a history lesson for all the new folks out there. And last but not least, we'll definitely talk about the announcement of Guild Wars 3 and how that could affect Guild Wars 1. Because the last time they announced the new game and actually went through, we got that, don't let me lie, I think it was 2012 power creep patch that put us to where we are now. And then they basically forgot about Guild Wars 1 until the 2 week studio showed up and took over. Um, this is something we definitely going to talk about because the fear of being forgotten is always there when ArenaNet announces another game, even though they promise they're going to take care of not just Guild Wars 2 but Guild Wars 1, but God knows if this is really happening. And for those who are gonna miss the show because we're streaming during the AT time, do not worry. I put the YouTube name for my channel into the stream. Look it up. The other 3 episodes are uploaded there. This one will be uploaded, I think, at least tomorrow. So all episodes gonna be on YouTube because I'm not a premium member on Twitch, so all the past podcasts or broadcasts will eventually disappear on Twitch. So if you want to look them up, I don't know, in a week or two from now, head to YouTube. It will guarantee, I will guarantee to have it uploaded there, and you can watch it there. Do not, and I'm saying again, do not rely on Twitch because Twitch is not that great for the bots. And ultimately, as I mentioned before, it will come to Tolcano. It's still in the work and it's still a process, but it's gonna be up there. And now let me check on belzor really quick and we can start the show. Hello, belzor. Are you here?
Hello.
Wonderful. Let me put your output up a little bit. Can you say something again?
Sure. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's great. So, I just spoke about you being from KMD, and I'm sure we will get into your history. Um,
Yep.
you've been playing since the early days and haven't played much lately. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I got the game on launch in 2005. I played for a few months with friends, PvE mainly. Then I kind of went back to, I played a lot of Dota in those days. So I went back to that. And then sometime in the spring of 2006, the last few months before factions, I came back and found an amazing place that was called Halls of Heroes, or HA, and that later went into GvG, and then yeah, we can talk about more in depth later. But yeah, I played a bit between 2016 and 2020 as well, and now I've been on a break again for 6 years, I guess.
Aside from the occasional playing with Takeda and me and stuff, but it's not as active as it used to be in the past. Um, After you went into GvG, how long did it take you to get into top GvG?
I think maybe I got my first bronze cape. I guess. Well, first of all, MAT were not around until 2007, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere
Nightfall,
around
I
mid
would say.
2007.
Yeah, so I got my first bronze cape probably late 2007, autumn there, maybe somewhere, and then silver capes in the spring of 2008. And then I joined the KMD in the summer of 2008 and got my first gold cape, or my only gold cape, I guess, in 2009 with KMD.
Yeah, see, this is something I spoke of in the introduction. KMD was known to be one of, if not the best European guild at their time. Um, how do you see this in contrast to still having the Americans win quite a lot of MNTs? I know it was mostly raw, um,
Yeah,
but Americans were still considered to be the dominant MAT contenders in
I
comparison to
think, yeah,
Europeans.
if you think about how many guilds there were, for sure. I don't know exactly the numbers, but maybe there was about 50-50 if you look at the numbers, Europeans and Americans in the MAT days. Um, but they for sure won a lot more golds if you count like the ratio. I think they were way better at tournament play and build wars and trying to. I mean, I think it's wrong to say abuse the mechanics, but I think they took it more serious in these regards. Europeans were stubborn and wanted to play like honor balanced, as it was called back then. Maybe if you compare it to Ranger Necromesmer nowadays.
Yeah. See, the funny part is before we started the show, I listened into one of Jed's old podcasts, and he had who was his guest? I think it was Shat and Asp, and he was talking about you because that was directly during the Raw era, and
Right.
it is funny because Raw was winning a lot of MATs, and they had their playstyle you can love or hate it. But the interesting part he was talking about is he was taking you as an example for a great midliner and
Yeah.
basically made their midline player copy your playstyle. And still, Europeans did not win as much. Um, is it really just because the Americans were more prone to, let's say, abuse the system in order to just win, as you mentioned it before?
It's hard to say. I think, like, let's say Roar, they were extremely solid defensively. Like, I don't think there's any guild that's ever been as strong defensively as they. I mean, it's hard to compare to modern guilds, but back then at least they were one of a kind. And I know for a fact that they took the game way more serious than most other guilds. I mean, they did like VOD reviews, discussions. They stayed up late. You could really see it in their play, and I know there's some YouTube video where you can actually listen in on their comms.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's very
several actually.
professional compared to what I was used to back then, at least. And I haven't seen anything in the modern era either that can compare with that, like how they communicated, especially defensively.
Yeah. Um, since you talked about you started quite early with PvP, even if it was just HA or how people back then called it, Tombs or Hall of Heroes. Um, what do you think about the current state of the game, and how do you see it in transition to the former years? Because you said you played literally PvP before the other expansions came in, and you witnessed what they did to the state of the game.
Yeah, sure. Um, should we start like factions,
If
Nightfall,
you want to
or?
go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't have very much experience from prophecies, but that was a long time ago now. But a bit of factions experience at least. The game was simpler in some ways. I mean, there were only 8 professions, way less skills. The pace was slower. It was more team focused, you could say. There were a lot of big party-wide buffs like Aegis, ward against melee. Um, all bars were weaker in most regards. There were some skills that were way stronger in forms of shutdown, like Gale was for 3 seconds knockdown.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Um, so there were some exceptions. Blackout was better. Um, like teleports, Death Charge had no aftercast, so spikes were really brutal back then. Much better than it is today, I would say. But I think over time, later pressure got better and better as like bars got more. Um, they're kind of more streamlined now. Cooldowns are shorter. Uh, like you can just look back at like Eder Prodigy, Fireball casting Fire Ellie compared to Mind Blast that came after, or Searing Flames. And then now we have this Mind Burn. I probably the DPS is double now as it was back then. Even though the spike might have been better um, in the past. So and then I think like monks and everything just went along with the evolution of DPS increase. So now like monk bars are way better than they were. dervishes and warriors are also way better in some regards.
Yeah. If
Um,
um if you can choose any time of the Guild Wars history, um, which time would you say the game was at its peak and played the way it was intended to?
for me personally, maybe not everyone agree, but I loved factions. It was so good. You could run, arguably, I know people argue this. People were worse. Game wasn't figured out, etc. That is also true. But you could bring like almost any skill. All skills were bad, if you want to call it that. Um, and it was just so team focused. Like it was really hard to do things on your own since the bars were way worse. There were no strong self heals or you couldn't just run around and blasting people. So I really enjoyed that. There were parts of Nightfall as well that were very, very good. 2007, parts of 2008 maybe, but after that I didn't enjoy the game too much and I quit in 2009, 2010.
Yeah, but until you quit, you were actually quite involved, as from what I know, because you told me you were part of the test crew. So it wasn't just
Yes.
you, but you
No.
took part in giving easy advice what is problematic and what may not be as problematic. Do you have any
Yes.
examples of your impact during the time of the test crew?
I'm not sure, and people might hate me for this, but I might have been behind fast casting not affecting skills above or like 1 second or below. That might have been my advice once upon a time.
It's quite
So
it's quite
hate me about
funny.
that one.
It's quite funny because everyone who remembers that time back then should know that you were one of, if not the best fast cast water mesmer, and you were so against
Yes.
it, which is
Yes.
uh, probably to some people is shocking. But on the other hand, um, who could give a more in-depth view on the matter than the person who's best at it, right? Um,
Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, I was really good at it. I think everyone could agree about that back then, but I thought it was kind of cheating. And I mean, if you look at, I think this was probably in 2009. And if you look at the games on the memorial from that back then, like domination mesmers were non-existent. They were replaced by different kind of fast casting secondaries and turret rangers. So it was all about like DPS output, getting around interrupts, a bit like it is now, to be honest. But now you don't, now you can't do that.
yeah, I mean, to a degree, I would have to agree with the current state of the game being similar to it. I think the form of putting the direct damage into the match is nowadays just extremely different to the past. Because in the
Mm,
past, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember during that time when mesmers were not that prominent during GvG, the direct damage was mostly focused in spikes combined
yeah,
with, let's say, the Pew Pew Ranger, or before the Pew Pew Ranger camp, people played the what was it, the turret Paragon with incoming, and
yeah,
nowadays it feels like the raw damage is there, but it's more about putting it out to pressure your opponent while having those overtuned mesmers to do the rest of the work.
yeah, yeah.
Which
I
is
agree.
a completely different playstyle, like going from spike to pressure plays completely different, because the pressure builds usually tend to have a lot less defense. Because I
Yeah,
remember the
and
spike,
direct damage.
yeah, and the spike builds back then tend to have like so much defense. It was not just the spikes from Raw. I remember you guys winning gold with a spike too, ultimately, right?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of rainbow spike. Like Mirror of Ice was crazy back then as well. It was a different skill than it is now.
Oh yeah, it
I
used to
think
give
it used
extra
to give
damage,
like,
didn't it?
yeah, like plus 30 pure damage maybe or something like that on your water hexes. Something like that.
Yeah.
So you could do like Rust did like 100 damage and Freezing Gust after that did another 100, so you did like 200 damage spike with a water alley. It was quite wild. On a fast cast Mesmer alley, that is. So it was
Yeah.
really quick.
Considering the fact that you played in a top team, you were part of the test crew, and you obviously influenced stuff. Um, Looking at your time during the test crew, what were decisions or patches you totally disagreed that, yeah, it's hard to say, but ultimately ruined the state of the game from that slower team orientated gameplay to what we have now? Is there something that straight up comes to your mind and you're like, yeah, that was shit?
Mm. Well, Aegis was a Aegis was a big hot topic back then. Um, Americans wanted it gone. Europeans mostly wanted it to stay. I think that was one of the biggest one that really changed the game at its core. That it disappeared. I think it sped up the game and moved almost to stances. It was already slowly happening since the Roar showed that stances were superior. But I think that was a big one.
Yeah, I remember Raw having the stances and whatever stance and whatnot they brought ultimately got nerfed anyways because it was like super strong back then.
Yeah, discipline stance and stuff. It had more armor than it has now, I think, and
Yeah, and I
it
think
was
it
really, really
lasted
strong.
longer on top of it.
Yeah. So I think that one was a big one. And of course, it was the whole VOD disappeared during that era as well. And there were a lot of discussions. People might find that interesting now, but there were big discussions. What should replace it? And I remember some parts of it at least. Some people argue that it should be some kind of point system. That if you open that score screen in observer mode, you can choose like morale, health, I think, and something else. That's something
Status, I think.
combined.
The last is status.
Yeah, status. I think it might have been that one. People wanted whoever had the highest um, status average over the entire game should win at 28 minutes. There was another one where the people wanted to go more the MOBA route, like Dota stuff, where you should have like pillars or something like that across the map that you had to destroy, like 5 guild lords or how you could say it. Then somehow we ended up with this damage thing. I don't remember exactly how.
And while you're talking about this, what was your stance for VOD? Would if it
Right
would
at
have
the
been in
time.
your
Yeah,
hands in the end, would you have
yeah.
chosen the lower damage system or would you have done something different to the game?
At the time, I don't remember what I argued for at the time because it's not it's easy to be Captain Hindsight, but I think I wanted VOD gone at the time. If you look back at the memorial, you can see that KMD and Roar were at the last
Yeah, it
MAT
was a
with
fun
VOD.
match on Uncharted. I watched it
Yeah,
live.
it was
Yeah.
horrible. I think that was probably the most abusive and horrible state the game has ever been in. At least top 3. You couldn't do anything. No one died. I remember that game. I think we killed 2 outside archers. They killed nothing until VOD.
Yeah, so
And
for
then
everyone who did not watch the game back then, it was basically double Ineptitude Mesmers on each team, double frontline, 2 monks, runner, and either team had a sort of a toolbox midline character. Raw had the Signet of Judgment. No, you guys had Signet of Judgment, and they
Yeah, we
had
had
the
Smiter's
Shield of
Boon.
Judgment or something.
Yeah,
And except for the Shield of Judgment, everything was standard, so to say, for that time. Um,
there was one
and,
thing, Akemi, that I still remember that was a big key why they won. If you look at Polly, one of the warriors in Roar, they had that assassin enchantment removal
oh yeah, expunge.
that went through. Yeah, that was one of the only skills that went through the shield of, what's it called, that I had as an elite.
Oh yeah. You guys did not run Shield of Judgment. You guys ran Spellbreaker.
Spellbreaker maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, it
Spellbreaker.
was Spellbreaker. And
Yeah,
the game was totally centered around both frontliners running flags until like the VOD mark. And your Mesmers were just trying to kill NPCs here and there. It
yeah.
was like super not exciting.
No,
And
it
then
was horrible.
VOD lasted like not even 2 minutes because NPCs kept attacking the person with Shield of Judgment and were knocked down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible to watch.
Yes, it was. So at the time, I think everyone argued that something had to be done. But now, in hindsight, I would have loved if VOD stayed around and we just like nerfed all AoE spells and defensive, like very easily abusable defensive stuff. Because the adrenaline you got during VOD was way different than what you get with lore damage. It was
Yeah,
so exciting and it was so deep in the like what tactics you could do both before and during VOD.
yeah, positioning was like so very important back then, and you had to really think about how you get into a better position because the NPCs would ultimately overwhelm you due to the extra damage buff. But now it's just like, yeah, let's think about who we split eventually, because most teams, for at least the MAT times, tend to have a that is either focused on winning 8v8 like 6 damage or something, or most teams bring like the listed dervish and just try to slowly get an advantage for 28 and be like, yeah, let's just play it slow. But that wasn't
Yeah.
that easy back then.
No, it wasn't. I mean, everyone just took so much damage. It was quite wild at times. I mean, you could, especially in the beginning of VOD as well. You took what was it? You did 25% more damage and you had 25% less health, maybe.
Yeah, I think I just remember the last version of VOD, which was like I think 20% less healing and 10% extra damage, while I think NPCs got another 5% flat extra for each minute you're in VOD. So if VOD goes like
Right.
for 6 minutes, NPCs do like a bazillion damage. And they back then had damage skills too. Like the ranger had what was
Yeah.
it, precision shot, I think.
Yeah, unblockable.
Yeah, and the bodyguard, if you didn't kill it, had those elemental skills that ultimately did
Yeah.
a bazillion damage if you did
Yeah.
not do anything about it.
Firestorm and Maelstrom and Mark of no, what's it called? The Rodgort one.
Did he not have
Uh,
fireball or something? I don't
yeah,
remember, but
Fireball I
but
think
but
as
he
well.
he definitely had some damage that was not to be underestimated. So
And there were two of them
at
first.
the very start, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like completely different. You had to plan completely different, and due to all those buffs, your team build had to be different because you couldn't go into VOD without any off monk defense because you would just explode.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
of course. I remember warriors running in, like if you were a bit in front of the monks and you didn't pre-prot, he could like evaporate if he ran into the NPCs.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was
at
quite wild.
at some point, I remember people actually bringing shields up on warriors for the 10-second
Yeah,
block against projectiles, which is different
yeah,
now too. Like now it's just giving 60 armor or something, but
yeah,
back then it was huge for this.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Usually this is a question I tend to ask at the end of the stream, but since we talking about the state of the game, your past history with the test crew, if you would be a dev for a day and you could change whatever the fuck you want, and you get basically a card to get free out of jail,
Yeah.
what would you change?
Well, the dramatic answer would be to turn back the clock to Guild Wars Factions World Championship balance patch. That would be awesome. But that's not gonna happen, so something more serious maybe. Um, Maybe, yeah, that's hard. Yeah, what would maybe at the moment remove Dervish from the game.
Dervish,
Yeah,
entirely
yeah.
dervish.
Yes, I think there's some good in there, but yeah, yeah, I'll say remove Dervish from the game.
Well, then I obviously have to ask the following question: why Dervish? Like, what is the issue for you with Dervish compared to, let's say, Paragon? I know a lot of people used to hate the Paragon,
Yeah,
but you named the Dervish. Why this class?
I think like, we don't need 3 melee characters really, at least not for PvP. I understand Dervish is amazing for PvE and the AoE it brings and everything like that. But I don't know. It's just like outcompeted sword warriors, axe warriors to an extent, and it's just like it's cheating in so many way, kind of compared to assassins and warriors and how you play melee in this game. It has all of these instant cast enchantments, doing a lot of random damage. You don't even have to hit people to do pressure to some extent, and they have all of this block. I mean, you're kind of limited to defensive stuff as well in warrior with the stances. You can only have one stance at a time. But dervish can they can have increased attack speed, increased movement speed, blocking, crazy regen, uh, condition removal, everything at the
Yeah.
same time
What is your
with no
stance?
drawbacks.
Yeah, they can bring too much. I mean, the list of Dervish is a great example for this. But
Yeah,
back then, if, correct me if I'm wrong, but back then I remember Dervish having all his goods being energy based, and you have to look or had to look out for your energy because the avatar alone costed you like 25 or something. Um,
yeah.
how do you see the fact that Dervish now has adrenaline skills too? Like he's basically a mix.
That I actually like. I really like adrenaline skills, especially for melee. So I think that's just positive. I think they should have had that back then as well.
Yeah,
Because that's
because
something like as a defensive midliner, you could count adrenaline. You could know kind of when a spike was about to happen. Um, with energy, it's way harder.
yeah, see, this is something people nowadays totally disregard because you do not have that defensive midline anymore. You have three monks, and with three monks, you do not count adrenaline because you do not have that extreme um defensive skill that could ruin an entire spike, like the B search back then, for example, or
Yeah,
if we go even further back, the Mesmer and Rangers who ran Blackout to Blackout the Hem of Weird right before he could combo. Um, this is something that's entirely gone. So
I think it's harder now as well since warriors kind of get adrenaline in they hit way faster now as well, and everything is cheaper. So I think it's harder now as well. In most ways.
Um,
Same thing with the wearing strike. I think it's like 6 adrenaline, and Avatar Balthasar gives you 25 extra. So everything is very fast now.
yeah. Um, since you said you came back after years of taking a break from the game, what were your thoughts when you came back and saw the state of the game, that midline was almost gone and midline was mostly used to either have a mesmer to be offensive, or you had that sort of defensive midline like the necromancer who had
Mm.
his weakness and stuff, but was mainly running flags.
Yeah. I think when I came back in 2016, maybe I started playing a bit again. I don't think there were that many double mesmer. It was more, what's it called? Air of Disenchantment, AOD, and a lot of Ellis. And the Necromancer was around, I think. And at first, I thought it was very strange. I had completely missed that there was a balance patch in 2012. So I didn't know about that when I came back. So that took a bit of getting used to. And then I thought, like, what are people doing? They've forgotten how to play the game. Who are even playing anymore? But then of course, I realized that it was really, really hard to play like you used to with the current skill updates. But yeah, I also thought that people were really locked into like some specific bars that didn't always make sense. I think people kind of forgot how to play in a different way as well, even if it's the best way probably at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Because when I came back after my break, I was shocked that people did not, let's say, try shit. Because I eventually
Yeah.
started playing with who was it at the time? Nick, Teddy, Ali, and stuff in what was it called? I think it was Necrobalanced Yay, and we were one of the very few guys at the time that tried out all the different kind of stuff. And in 180, I remember we were so bored that we basically went through Memoria and we're like, yeah, let's roll, and the person who rolls the highest is allowed to choose a build, and we ended up playing the old Spirit way. I'm pretty sure I suggested it or suggested it to the person who won, and we played it with Ali and Sep on frontline with double paragons, and Teddy instantly went to replace the double monk Rit backline for two PvE Rits and a monk. And it kind of felt good at the time because people played Ellie's.
Right.
Um, but it's on the other hand, it's like it feels like people forgot what used to be great in the game and could still be great because they are so narrow-minded on, yeah, we have to have this, we have to play it like this, and it is shocking.
Yeah. I think the uh, Nature's Renewal Tranquility build that's popular now in some way shows that as well. It like took the game by storm, I guess, for a few months after the balance patch. Now I know it lost every game in the last MAT or something like that, but I think there's some other like really, really good builds out there that used to be good, or there was some idea that made them good that would still work, especially if you know kind of what you're facing. There must be some good builds out there against Singast and the Spirit Way and stuff like that. I think the free melee double mesmer build is very hard to counter though. It's really, really solid. So we'll see what people come up with.
Yeah, see, my take on this is, um, I think people should. It may sound very rash, but I feel like people should take into account on how to win at 28. Because if you face a mirror with the triple melee double mesmer, and you have that solo dervish running around, you have to defend him, then you have to run a flag. There's very little chance at actually killing or winning the game pre 28. And it really feels like the team that puts in thought on how we get an edge for the 28 um is gonna win. But on the other hand, barely anyone brings any decent skill for for the 28 scenario. Like everyone
Mm.
plays the almost exact same bars. No one thinks, yeah, how about we, I don't know, outsource the death pack on the Mesmer too? I don't know. The frontliner, we don't need death charge on, I don't know, Warrior's Isle. How about we bring double packed on the front line and bring another copy of Prod D to stay alive in the enemy pit or something? I
Mm.
think that that creativity that used to be around back then is kind of gone, which is sad to a degree.
Yeah, I agree. But I guess, I mean, there's a few teams trying that I see at least doing crazy stuff, but I mean, there's only like 20 guilds playing, right? That's what I heard from the last weapon of choice, at least.
Yeah,
Like,
roughly.
maybe taking it seriously, at least. And in 2008, maybe there were 500 guilds. And in 2006, 2007, there were probably 2000 guilds at least. So I kind of get it as well. The player base is quite small now, but and I know people like to win, so I think I have a different mindset, but that comes from having won in the past, maybe. That I would try to win in different ways, but I understand if people now want to play what is clearly the strongest. And a lot of players now don't have very much experience. They've only played in this patch, so they don't know. How can they know unless they look back maybe on Memorial? But even looking at a build from the past, if you didn't play it or understand why you did it like this, it might be hard to apply it on the current meta.
Yeah, yeah. Let's say you could influence the people from 2 Week Studio. Which
Mm.
would be the things that you would suggest them to target, how to change the game?
I would, of course, interrupts are too strong. Domination mesmers primarily. Their damage is too strong. Their cooldowns are too strong or like too short. Then I think it's a little bit too much random damage everywhere, like dervishes. There's too much AoE on the Ellis, a bit too spammable. And then of course the Lyssa Derv, it's just way too survivable. It can do everything. You can barely fight it if you like hard counter it. I've tried many times. Like we did a lot of experiments in the IV guild that you and me were a part of. So like bringing back split characters maybe a bit, and then eventually targeting monks. Monks need to get weaker too, because otherwise you can never kill reliably without having 5 offensive characters in every build. So like slowing down the power creep a bit.
And
Oh,
therefore putting more focus on coordinated shutdown.
yeah,
Not like
yeah,
the Messmers nowadays sit on the target the frontliner sits on and you just strip whatever comes on and you keep
yeah,
going.
yeah.
I
But you
mean,
kind of need monks to be worse then as well, because otherwise they will always have a prot available.
yeah,
If you
obviously.
don't pressure them, like you have to pressure them now, or you can't spike unless you have like a crazy caster spike or ranger spike or something like that. But you can't really run a normal rainbow spike anymore without having crazy pressure, because the monks always have something available that's really good.
Yeah, I mean back then, if we're just looking at monk guilds, um, Spirit Bond wasn't as good. You got less healing out of it, and it triggered at a different
60.
yeah,
Yeah,
it triggered at 60, and your only hard catch really was infuse, and now
yeah,
you got the um
Aegis.
yeah, the make your invulnerable skill Aegis, which is another problematic one. But on the other hand, you kind of need it nowadays because of the mesmers.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, yeah, I mean, it fills a role. Same way, like Complicate, you need it against Complicate because it's so strong. Um, like I know people use it to get apply poison up, get hard resurrects up, and interrupts are always available as well. So it's quite tricky.
Yeah, and
It's a tricky situation at the moment.
it is it- it's kind of hilarious because back then your team health bars seemed to go down slower and got up slower too. Like you had that very strong heal party on the elementalist who could basically spam it, but it
Yeah.
wasn't that strong. Like it healed,
No.
yes, and it healed you almost all across the map, but
Yeah.
it
But only
wasn't
for like
extreme.
57 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at one point you had LOD, which was good, very good to you, but it only healed you to up to 80% or something. The very first one.
Yeah. Different patches. But yeah.
And people were not too worried about um their enemy team's ranger getting poison up, like apply poison. And nowadays people literally cry and are almost about to retreat from the fight if the mesmer is not complicating it. Like you can very clearly see that teams that are less experienced really struggle the moment apply gets up. And it's just
Yeah.
one condition. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite different. But I guess people had, I mean, when people had Aegis, you had 50% block, let's say half the time on the entire team. So that really slowed down poison spreading. And then the ranger had maybe crypt shot. It didn't really have any other damage. And at that time as well, the domination mesmer had maybe E-search and shatter, but they were worse than they are now. Other than that, they had no damage. And then the midliner had, at best, B-search, lightning orb, lightning strike, without the hex part, like just straight up 60 damage or something like that. And that's
Yeah.
it. Maybe something on the Writ Runner, like some small damage, Ancestor's Rage or something like that. And then two frontliners who were worse than they are now. So, I mean, the damage output was so much worse than it is now. But the spike was quite strong, to be honest.
Yeah, on the other
Um,
hand, um the armor stacking that we have now with the insignias and stuff wasn't
yeah,
much um of GvG back then either. So when you did damage, you actually did more because people
yeah.
used to have
Auto
less armor.
attacks, yeah, auto attacks did way more damage since people ran 60 armor on casters. I think it was introduced in Nightfall, maybe.
Oh,
In
I don't
Prophecies and
remember.
Factions, you didn't even have armor insignias and stuff like that. I think that's true, but someone can fact check me on that one. And people didn't really run it until maybe Roar showed how good it was. People figured out that Roar took way less damage than everyone else uh, after a while. So yeah, like auto attacks became kind of pathetic, and they still are. I mean, try running a sword warrior and hitting a monk that has full armor, like 95 or something like that. Maybe you're doing like 10, 15, 20 damage per hit.
And armor
Uh,
stacking is kept nowadays too. Like the what is it? Core armor is not stacked, but bonus armor at like 24 or something. But as a monk, if you get everything you can on you, no special armor, just core and bonus armor, you can still get like to 115 or something. It's like nuts.
To be honest, I actually thought about that the other day since I was coming on this show. I wonder if people should run health insignias again in some fluxes where the mesmers are really crazy, but maybe it's not worth it. But it feels like the Dom mesmers actually blow up people because they have so little health as well, like 500 or something. But maybe
Yeah.
it's not worth it. I haven't run the calculations, so
I mean, to be honest, I thought about it too. Um, when I saw how many people run, let's say, double dervishes, even though it's a lister and not doing too much damage, but the fact that both dervishes with their avatar do not do normal damage. The AOB has holy damage, and the lister does God knows what damage, chaos damage, or what other stuff. Um, and I think both of them are not um triggering the armor. So you
mm,
basically do more damage than you should compared to, let's say, a warrior. And then you have the armor ignoring mesmers, which makes you think running health is a smart choice, right? And then you see the hammer warrior running around.
yeah,
And if he hits you, like, he's gonna smash you to the ground.
for
Not just
sure.
by his skills, but the pure damage he's gonna bring. Because
Yeah,
um this is another
Hammer
thing.
Warriors now deal so much DPS.
Yeah, see, this is another thing. Back then, people were really focused on having the Hammer Warrior as a movement and shutdown character. Like,
Yeah,
you would use your KDs mostly to support the other warrior while spiking and stuff, or to
yeah,
get important skills through. Nowadays, with the which one is it? I think auspicious that gives you energy back. You can basically spam Fraud Strike, which is a crazy skill because it does so much damage. And
yeah,
in in the Mayflux, I'm pretty sure I saw quite a lot of dervishes running Prot Strike too, which is another
yeah.
thing that is totally busted. Because if you think about it, a skill that is not supposed to be on your class and you can't spec into it because it's on the primary attribute, still does a huge amount of damage. Uh,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, if you hit it right, it's a automatic critical as well, so it will deal quite a lot of damage. Like on a moving
so
foe, I mean.
yeah. So since we talked about what classes you would change, obviously mentioning Dervish Mesmer Elementalist and then nerfing the monks, um, how would, in your opinion, the ideal state of the game look like if you could change or influence 2 weeks to change certain skills? You mentioned you would obviously love to have the game pre-nightfall, which is not possible,
No, that's
but
not possible.
how would you have the game look like, at least skill wise? We're not talking
Mm.
about implementing VOD again and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but skill wise, how would you want the game to look like? I would assume right out right out of the way that you would want builds like Singast not to be possible.
May no, Syncast is maybe too extreme, but I always loved having a wide variety of gimmicks as well. I see Syncast as a gimmick build. Like triple melee, two mesmers is kind of a gimmick build as well, but it's so well balanced. But I think these builds would have a place to some degree, but I think they should be more of a I surprised the opponent. They didn't expect this. They didn't bring any counters. Uh, we have a huge build advantage. But now it's kind of you can bring it and face almost anything, and you're still on top. Um, that's what I don't like about many of the meta builds that are being played now. But I would slow the game down to some degree. I think some skills should actually be stronger than they are now, but it should be slower, more methodical. You should like break the team down through teamwork and like precision and timing more than like now it's more about overwhelming the other team. You're just like brute forcing your way to kills, and then you're hitting some key interrupts and people die.
Yeah.
So that's probably like a general direction, but I have ideas for
Yeah,
different, like
and
elementalist is very interesting. I think it's one of the most interesting classes to talk about because it's been in a sad state forever.
yeah, I would assume you would pick the class as a midliner. I'm sure if we had, let's say, Takeda here, he would say the same about Warrior because he's very
Mm,
passionate about his class. But talking about your ideas, I know that you
mm,
posted a patch suggestion, um, which is nowadays more like handing your ideas to 2 weeks and hoping they would read and consider it, at least the
yeah.
official way. Um, how was it back then in the test crew? Did you just post it like you did it now? Did you have an active discussion, not just with other people from the test crew, but also the developers? Did they
Yeah.
partake in the discussion, or did they just stand outside and just read it?
No, I actually have Izzy on Facebook and stuff like that, but I haven't talked to him since 2009 maybe. So he was very, very active back then, and he probably talked to 100 people or something, is my guess. So I think he like listened in, he argued some, he probably took some advice from here and there. I don't know exactly how he did it, but he was very active. He even played the game. I mean, I think he joined in and guested with some American guilds once in a while, and I think it was quite different.
So from what I'm hearing, it was more like an active exchange. He took the time to talk about the state of the game, talk about the skills, and not just skills like armor and whatnot, all the things that could be problematic, that are problematic,
Yeah,
and really
for
talk
sure.
that through.
Yeah, I know for a fact that he, like, I probably changed his mind on something, and he for sure like went back on some crazier suggestion. I think he was more of a, he always had the mindset of like we need to refresh things, we need to keep it fresh, buffing things, um, keeping it interesting, maybe from a corporate point of view as well. And I think a lot of the top GvGers just wanted kind of like small changes, status quo, change what people don't like right now, like small buffs and nerfs, and and he did like complete overhauls of things once in a while to like shake things up, which yeah, it really changed the game.
Yeah. See, the the impression I got from him was that he looked at the game in a, how would you say that, in a rock paper scissor mentality, like build A has to always beat build B, and
Mm,
build B has to always beat build C, while not taking
mm,
into account um what extra skills you got on the build. Like, let's say balance is supposed to beat spike on the split map, but what if the spike build has skill XYZ to
mm,
actually deal with it? And what if it's not on frozen but on another map that sort of allows split, but it's not great, for example? And
mm,
it really felt like his idea of this rock paper scissor mentality could not properly work. And it kind of felt like when I played later on mobile games, that the mentality sort of came from there, because in most mobile games you have um one champion or hero or whatever beat the next one, and this one is beaten by the next one, and then you go basically full circle, and the one that is buffed the highest at the moment is metagame, and he still has
Mm,
counter. And this is something that does not work in Guild Wars because it's not about a single player being able to do all the crazy shit. On the other hand, it is kind of possible now with, for example, the Lisser.
mm. No, for sure. I think you're right on that. Now that you mention it, I think I have some vague memories about that as well. So I think you're right. And as you said, I think that's the case with several characters now, where you don't really have to do much trade-off to be highly effective in most parts of the game. Like now it's the Lyssaderv that's king of the hill. But when I came back in 2016, I thought it was more like L search. It was really, really strong back then before people started running Lyssa and other bars. Uh, you couldn't really beat it in the split, and it was still fantastic at 8v8 unless you got like completely shut down. Because that's a problem with Ellis now. You're either crazily good or you're crap, kind of, depending on if someone harass you or not. But back then it wasn't the case. If you were like a split Ellie or a split warrior or split ranger or whatever, you were much worse at 8v8 than the equivalent counterpart, like 8v8 build. So you kind of had to trade off a lot to move towards split. Uh,
Yeah, I
I don't think
remember.
that's the case anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to look at frontliners to see this. Basically, back then you had the warriors mainly as frontliners. I mean,
Yeah,
dervishes came in later too, but it was mostly the I think it was Grenth at the start because it was like so
yeah,
overtuned with the edge removal, and then
yeah.
you had the Lizard dominating for over a year. But
No,
other than
Melandrus.
yeah, Melandra's not Lizard, my bad.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, you still had the warriors, especially when it came to split. Most people preferred the warrior. I know that Dark Alley back then won gold with Dwayner on split,
Mm.
but it was a specific case just countering Sin split, right? Um,
Yeah, exactly.
Other than that, still had the warrior, and the warrior
Yeah,
bar for split always or mostly looked the same until let's say late 2007, if I'm correct. The
yeah.
split warrior
You're all
always
alone.
had like let's say heal signet and sprint, which totally handicap you for 8v8, which is
Yeah, you really wanted rush and disrupting shop or something instead if you could.
yeah. And nowadays you just have that dervish that like let's say for example the signet of pyres restrained AOB dervish, which is really good at pushing people, controlling movement with his crippling, and he can still go up and split. He may not have a self heal, but he can
Yeah.
easily take the NPCs, especially when he gets the chance to ball them up, which would never happen with a warrior without heal. Like, let's say you're running
No.
Axe Warrior without healing, and you're screwed, basically.
Yeah, if you messed up, you could die against a knight, or you got really, really, really low doing it. So anyone coming back would insta kill you. So it was quite risky not running a self heal back then on a warrior if you wanted to split off. And then there were a few like specialists, like the You're All Alone bar. Um, I don't. Maybe it's around on Memorial.
It
I
is, it
played it a
is, it
lot.
is. I remember it.
But as you can see, if you watch that build, it's really bad at 8v8 compared to like an Eviscerate or a Devhammer bar or something like that. So it was a
Yeah.
huge trade-off to split back then.
But on the other hand, people were more open to run other builds for split. I remember not just Axe being viable.
No, no, Sword. Sword was the main splitter, I would say, if you look at warriors.
Yeah. I think Sword
Uh,
Sword was remember if I'm wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember Sword being the primary split character until, let's say, mid 2007 or something, when the Axe Warrior took over. I remember VD, like Virtual Dragons,
Mm,
play a lot of Axe Warrior with the sprint and healing signet just in case they had to split, even though they
mm,
prefer to not split.
mm. Yeah, I think it was more of a we want really strong 8v8 and then we'll split if necessary if we run into some crazy build we can't handle or if we want to push flags or whatnot or even doing counter splitting. You had to have something. You had to like respond with warriors and rangers and stuff more than midliners as you do now.
Yeah. Um, Looking at all those changes and how the game changed throughout the years, what do you think was the driving factor why European guilds back then were not as good is not the right word because there were a lot of good guilds, but why did they not in the end make the cut to win? Because I know, for example, SUP was like the split guild, or known to be
Yeah.
like the number one split guild and stuff, and they all almost always fell short.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's hard to say, but I think it was, as I said in the beginning, maybe it was a lot of stubbornness. Uh, Europeans really wanted to play the game in a certain way. I mean, it was called honor balanced. It was called yeah, it had a lot of nicknames like this. It was all about honor. You didn't want to play anything except balanced. Then you were boring. You were a cheater or whatever people said back then. That's what they called roar. They were like boring and breaking the game, and we should not join them. Kind of mentality.
Yeah,
And
but um, not saying you have to play their
right,
playstyle,
right,
but SUP, for example, was known to almost always be raw when it wasn't
yes,
an 8v8 map. Like, if it wasn't like straight up Jade or Burning, you would most likely bet on SUP winning. But
that's right.
not every guild was capable of doing it, even though everyone knew what they're gonna play. Do you think it was
Yeah.
just the
Oh
lack of
yeah, you mean like that?
understanding because people did not play the boot and therefore did not understand where its weakness truly is?
I think it was SUP were really solid defensively as well. I think. So they could, I think they were one of the few teams who could actually hold off Roar, if we talk about them specifically. Um, we tried to split against Roar maybe 4 times or something. I mean, I think we were like 0-10 against Roar or something like that. Uh, and we lost every time. And we tried to split them maybe 4 or 5 times. And our monks or like our main team just caved. And we didn't have time to get the splitting going properly. While SUP seemed to like kind of hold their own, they could hold the flag stand and they could cause a lot of damage on the split and force Roar to respond and like put them in a really bad spot. And I think SUP and some of the Americans were the only ones who could do that for some reason. I think most European teams were not that great at splitting at that time. Um, truly good at splitting, like SUP were.
Yeah.
So
Mm, this is another take. Um, I'm pretty sure you've heard and probably seen that short trailer for Guild Wars 3.
yes.
Um, what were your thoughts when they announced it? Because my thoughts were, even though they said we're gonna take care of Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1, the last time they
Mm.
changed from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2, they totally ignored and pretty much totally left the game they had previously. So I'm kind of worried it's not gonna happen the way they say, but
Yeah, time will tell. But yeah, when they went from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2, it's as you say, they just left it in a maintenance state. You could hope that with what they've done now with 2 weeks and whatever they're gonna do with Guild Wars 2, they're gonna stay alive and still get content. I think it's in a better spot now at least than it was. I think all of ArenaNet moved on back then, but now we have a separate company kind of running Guild Wars 1, so you could hope. Because it's worth keeping alive.
yeah. That's since we talked about a lot of the game now. Um, I usually have in the introduction personal questions,
Mm.
including some that aim up on the current player base. Um, those are kind of hard for you now, I would assume, because you not been playing active, but let's see if we
Yeah,
can get there. Starting
I can try
with
at least.
yeah, see, I was hoping for it. Let's start with what is your favorite class, and what class do you enjoy playing the most?
I think my favorite class by far is, like design-wise, is the Mesmer. I think it's really, really unique in all of gaming. I think there's nothing like it in any other game. Like all about shutdown and controlling the pace of the game and stuff like that. And my favorite class to play nowadays, maybe Elementalist or different kind of midline roles, I suppose. Long time ago, it was Warrior.
Okay, and what is the class you like to play the least, or you are the worst on? May not even be the
Uh,
same, right?
no, they don't. I don't think they are. That I hate to play, maybe Dervish. But the worst, I'm probably worst at Monk or Ranger. I'm terrible at those two.
Okay, Monk or Ranger. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I've barely played those at all.
Um, let's start with the time when you were most active. You said you eventually joined KMD and won gold in there. Um,
Yeah.
was there a guild, a player, or perhaps just a team that changed the guild names a lot, um, that you looked up to and you were like, yeah, those guys are great.
Mm. A little bit earlier than that, it was QQ for sure, Team Quitter. They were highly entertaining. Uh, I really loved those old weapon of choice. You got some insight into how they thought about the game. And I think my favorite player was probably Smugsor. He was the warrior of QQ back then. I played warrior at that time as well. So shout out to him 25 years later.
I don't. He's gonna ever listen into this. If he
Probably
does,
not.
he it may put a smile on his face. At that time when you were in KMD, was there one guild everyone used to hype up, and you were like, "Yeah, I don't feel like they are as good as people make them out to be."
Hmm, maybe. I mean, I'll have to say the team we beat every time that people still thought were quite good were Dangerous Pumpkin, the Frenchies. So I'll
Really?
say them.
When you said it this way, my first thought was STS, but Dangerous Pumpkins,
Right.
yeah, I can see that one.
Yeah,
Um,
I think we had like a 20-0 record, or maybe they beat us once. I think they actually beat us once in a playoff, to be fair. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that one with Lingering Curse that time
Exactly.
on Frozen, if I remember it
Exactly.
correctly. Um, was there a guild that you thought back in the day was underrated? That you thought, wow, these players are good, but their rank or something is not telling that they were actually good?
To be honest, I think it might sound weird now, but I think Roar were underrated for a very, very long time. People thought they were garbage, but they still won. So it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I heard that one a lot too, especially back in the day when people said, um, the individual players were not that great, but the way they play as a team and their understanding
Yeah,
of the game is what carries them through. So a
yeah.
lot of people with let's say a better micro play, we're kind of triggered by the fact that someone who's worse than them wins more.
Yes, that was
It's
for sure a
definitely
fact.
interesting. Um, I mean, it's quite a long time ago, but how about we do the same with individual players? I mean, you said you named Smoxer, so um, how about we just go with who do you think was overrated back then?
Overrated. It must have been some warrior that I crushed as a midliner. What were they called? Maybe someone in BDV. I don't know, remember what they were called. Or maybe
BDV,
someone in Cry. Yeah,
BDV had Sammy and I don't know. I don't remember who was in Cry.
I know maybe someone in Sapa as well. Some of the top European warriors, I would say. I don't remember what they're called. Candy Boy, was that someone? Or is that the guy playing now? Candy Girl? Maybe that was Candy
Candy
Girl.
Go was a sub, yeah.
Yeah, maybe one of those two warriors there.
All
I
right.
think I had a number on them.
Per frontliners. I mean, it was a dark time for frontliners back then compared to now.
Yes.
Um, if you feel like it, have you seen or observed games lately in the last few weeks, month?
Not much. A little bit.
A little bit. Do you think any, or would you have anyone who's overrated from the current, let's say, 20 guys that are out there? Who do you think when you observe them are like,
Mm.
yeah, this is just basic gameplay. This is like nothing magical. Why are they hyped up so much?
I mean, I know that Fist and XXX are the top guys now, and they are really good at what they do. But I can say for a fact, when they don't play meta builds, it's embarrassing at points or at times. They don't really know what they're doing if they play off meta bars. Maybe with a few exceptions.
All right. Um,
So I'll put it that way.
since you've been playing the game for quite some time, um, and there are still some older players left in the game that played during your time, um, do you think you could name someone who's like a single player who's overrated, who's hyped up by the community to some degree,
Mm.
and you're like, yeah, he did not really, let's say, improve compared to the past. Like it's just a different metagame they are sitting in and
Mm.
a smaller community.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think a lot of people who play now are I mean, they are quite good. They played for so many years, but I don't know, that one is really hard since I'm not paying attention that detailed.
All right, all right,
Um, no, I don't have anyone on that one, I think.
all right. I think that's fair considering
I
you
mean,
are playing
okay,
actively.
let's say because it's everyone's favorite boy, Suri. He played forever, and he played like 10 hours a day,
Yeah.
but he never got good. So
And he isn't
let's say
even
him.
playing anymore.
He's
He
not even
stopped.
playing
Yeah,
anymore,
he
but
he stopped playing without getting his gold trim. I think
yeah,
I don't remember him winning, but I
I
told
loved his
Brave to, so
commitment,
whatever.
but it was interesting.
Um, Something that may be interesting for midline players, since you were considered the best midliner back in the day at the KMD era. Um,
Yeah.
did you change your interface, your key bindings, or whatnot?
Yes. Uh, I mean, I can say one thing, it's not maybe a problem anymore, but when you went from, first of all, you went from a 17-inch screen to a 22-inch screen. That was amazing. It's like I got twice as good. Suddenly you could like make the minimap twice as big. I think my minimap is maybe 15-20% of my screen in the top corner. Um, I watched it. I watched it a lot. I also put like everything that I need to see about the enemy players, like when they use skills, their health bars, stuff like that. I put it in the center, and then I kind of hid everything else in the corners so they don't bother me as much. So I can watch the field, because that was really important playing a defensive midliner. You had to like really pay attention to where people were going, if they ran off, if the warriors moved towards someone, if a ranger stood close to someone, you kind of knew what was going on.
Yeah, and did you touch the key bindings? Did you change
Yeah.
stuff there?
Yeah, back then I don't have much on the mouse. Maybe if I was serious nowadays, I would put some quick skills on the mouse. But yeah, I do a lot of things with thumb, kind of. I put like 687 on CVB, I think, so I can reach all the skills. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 CVB. And
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
put like previous and next, closest target and next target on QE. And trying to keep everything in reach that's necessary to play.
Um,
Pick
do
up
you,
items and drop items, I also moved to Z and X. So like I don't think it happens as much anymore, but you used to drop off the flag and get through body blocks and stuff like that
yeah,
a
you
lot.
actually do it now, but people didn't. As far as I know, people don't use separate keys for this. They usually have a macro on one of the um keys that are
Right.
free, and you literally do both at the same time to pick it up faster.
Right.
Um,
I don't think anyone played with macros back then, or at least not that I realized.
do you move by using the keyboard or the mouse?
Both.
Both.
They are good at different things.
It's interesting because your favorite frontliner used to hate the most. If I'm remembering correctly, he loved the keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you need to use both. They're very good at different things. Like you can't really move, or at least not that I know of. You can't really walk backwards with with the mouse, as an example. Um, Strafing you have to do sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it
Um,
turns you around and you're prone to get critical hits if you
yeah,
use the mouse. I,
but
I'm
like
I'm
getting
actually
anywhere
doing the
fast
same.
is the mouse is better.
Yeah, I'm using the same, especially on maps that have bridges, for example. I try to use the keyboard more because it would path you so stupidly and you would all of a sudden run into the wrong direction because you click too close to the bridge and stuff. Like
Yeah,
one of those maps is like um Undead or Isle of the Dead, where the bridges are so hard to um distinguish from the ground area, and when you click at the wrong area, you're like, oh fuck, I'm moving backwards.
yeah, yeah. That sucks. And you needed a keyboard sometimes to get through body blocks as well, because the mouse might put you in like some kind of small corner because it's taking the shortest path.
Yeah. On the other hand, the mouse was like really, really good to get unstuck because oftentimes when you click on, let's say, a player or something to move,
Yeah.
you would automatically get unstuck, while the keyboard would not recognize us, and you would still
Mm.
stand there. While on your own screen, you would be, I don't know, 20 miles away, and you're like, wait, why am I taking damage?
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I don't know if that's gotten better with the better servers, but it was horrible at times.
So I'm basically through with the majority of my questions. If you would be given the chance to help out, like on the old test crew, would you do it, even though you are not actively playing?
Yes. I think Guild Wars is still the best game, like PvP game ever made, and it's very unique. Nothing like it. And I would love to make Guild Wars a bit more, at least how I like it, Guild Wars again. It's a bit too MOBA-ish now for my taste.
Yeah. Um, Two more questions then we through. Um, for a midline perspective, do you have any tips or tricks to people who want to excel at their midline role? And I know you've been
Yeah,
mostly playing defensive midliners, so that's important to know that
yeah.
your tip will most
I've
likely
played
love.
everything, I would say. People might not recognize that because there's mostly KMD games. There's a select amount of KMD games on the Memorial, but I was excellent at splitting if I hype myself up. I was like sub level, I would say,
Yeah, no, no, no. Well, what
on
I
Elemental
meant,
List.
maybe
Yeah,
uh, wrongly phrased, um,
sure.
was that I meant that you're more known for the standard custom midlines and not,
Yeah.
let's say, the mesmer midlines.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, for sure. The fifth position, like Necro, Ellie, whatever we needed. Smite, Paragon, Warrior, Third Warrior, like a bit like Yoko said in the first episode.
All right, then let's
Um,
distinguish the tip in let's say two parts. Um, for a basic player who gets into GvG, what would be the most fundamental tip you would give them for a midliner?
I think the most important thing is positioning. I see people running into the middle of the fight all the time, playing these kind of defensive midliners-ish. I also see them. You also need to kind of feel out the flow of the game, like where it's going. Are we winning? Are we pushing, pressuring? Are we actually losing the battle? Should I like use my defensive skills now, or should I go on the offense and help the spikes, etc.? Um, it's very, very important since you have limited resources always.
Yeah,
One thing that
makes
I love
sense.
to do, like playing a fast cast Mesmer Ellie, is that at the start of a battle, I like kind of spammed stuff at the warriors, forcing the monks to use removal, so you could like hit interrupts and burn their energy quickly. And then you could start to be more selective. You could use like a little bit of shutdown on the warriors when the monks no longer could remove it. So you could help out on offense more. Like it was a lot of these small things, controlling the battle and the pace.
All right, and
Um,
when you would have to give a tip to, let's say, a mediocre player who wants to become very good at his role, is there
mm,
something you would suggest to them? Like a tip that fine tunes their gameplay, for example?
I think it's a lot about. I think you should watch yourself and like be really critical. You should watch your own games. Um, like where am I standing? What am I actually doing? How am I using my skills? When am I using them? Am I positioned correctly to cut off a split attempt, or there's a lot of things you can think about. And the last thing that I'll take that quote from Mugsword and in some old weapon of choice that I really liked. Try shit. Try things that you haven't done before. Even if you die or you lose the game, you will learn something.
Yeah.
Just
See,
run off, split off, or do something else if it's not working.
yeah, that I personally think this is one of the best advice you can always give. Because if you don't try shit, you will never understand where your limitations are. But I was
Yeah.
actually expecting you to say those really minor things that people don't do anymore, like um counting adrenaline, making sure you know when or the time window in which you would expect the spike or something. But then again, it is mostly gone now because you don't have
Yeah.
big defense for it. I don't think I've ever seen a necromancer. I mean, necromancer's barely played anymore, anyways. But I've never seen a necromancer try to time his weakness.
No, I think that's gone. I tried to do it when I played Blood Necro sometimes, but I guess it's old habits. But I think nowadays maybe you could count the cooldown of Shatter Enchantment. I think that's a big giveaway when a spike will actually kill someone or not.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't really think about counting Shatter, because it's so hard when you don't know or see correctly if he's on 40/40, because 40/40 may change that because of the fast recharge.
Yeah, but more often than not, you're gonna be right since it's 60/40 and he's not on 40/40 all the time.
Yeah, sure. So since I'm done with my questions, is there anything you would like to talk about or say while you get the chance to?
Mm. Happy that people keep this game alive, I guess is the main thing. I salute the people who still play it, and all the hard work that's done around it, like Tolcano and everything that people build around the game. I think it's really great, and hope we can have some more skill balance. That's not just buffs, but also some nerfs. I think it would bring back a lot of people.
Yeah, I see the same. Or at least I hope the same if things would happen this way.
Yeah,
Would you yourself play more actively if the metagame changed?
I think if it changed drastically, or like somewhat drastically at least, I would play for sure. Not as I did before. I have a family now, but I think I would play it.
Sounds good. All right. I'm done here. Thanks for coming online, talking
Yeah,
about the
thank you.
state of the game.
Yeah.
I hope
By
you're
the way,
tuning
if
in.
anyone,
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
I
go
just say
ahead.
one last
Yeah,
thing? If
sure,
someone
sure.
wants to talk to me about the past, you are free to hit me up. I'm on QQ and Discord, so just chat me up if you want to talk about the old times.
Or the current times and discuss skill changes. Belzor's always open for this kind of stuff. Very
Yep,
interested.
I love talking about the game.
I think we've been talking for hours off stream about this stuff.
Yeah,
Anyways, thank you for coming. I hope you tune in or look at the VOD later on when I do the American special next week.
I will for sure.
And then I see you around. Have a good day.
Yeah. Bye bye.
All right, guys, this was this week's weekend weapon of choice. Nothing too special in regards of how the game is currently doing with the June flags. We will talk about this more in depth with the Americans next Sunday, and we will look into the American scene, how they see the flags, how they see the current state of the game, if the patch affected the American scene, and what may or may not be coming from the Americans. Because OG, I think, was a contender for, I think, last MAT to be a possible winner. But since then, I've seen the Americans founded, I think it was Pond or something, with a couple of older people. So I'm very curious what we get out of it. For next Sunday, I got confirmation that Brooke is coming online and he's going to bring someone else along. It's not confirmed yet who is going to come, but Brooke is going to be on here. So let's hope it's going to be super interesting. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next week.